Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham, quadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who are teaching the truth in sincerity. And a shout out to Yakims out there on four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Barak the yahawah, barak the yahawashi, bahasham, quadash, barak atham. So, in the midst of still trying to find another place and trying to get that together, and well, just pray that I can get that. I can finally get out of the situation that I'm in. Esau didn't make it easy when he gave me the 60-day notice, and I was forced to move. And I already drove by the old place, and that motherfucker already has it rented out. He wasn't renovating shit. But we already know. Esau, the Edomites, they can always tell you the lie. They can always tell you lies. That's all that this devil does. That's all he knows how to do. Devil means deceitful. And he deceives everyone by ways of his witchcraft. So he's deceiving everybody into thinking that we're just a bunch of thug gangsters, a.k.a. black Hebrew Israelites, But most of us don't wear that, When you go to the camps, man, it ain't just so-called black people there. You got all the tribes that are there, and you have many Israelite foreigners there, so it ain't a black thing like they're trying to label it. Nonetheless, though, they're trying to deem us as terrorists. But, just like Apostle Gabar was saying earlier, that, hey, this already happened to us. We were deemed as terrorists. We were arrested and, had to pay fines. It was about $800 for the apostles to get out back in 2001 during 9/11, which they have spoken on that on many occasions, especially Apostle Gabar. So, yeah, man, we're just starting to see a little taste of what has already happened. Of course, because this word is hurting Esau. And that's why he's changed all the YouTube policies. So, that way, he can try to shut up the word, but the word has already gone out, so you can't shut it up anymore. Too many people like me and others have already gotten hold of this word, have repented, and showed our faith by coming forth and prophesying against Mount Seir and proclaiming that we're Israelites. So no matter what, though, it doesn't matter now because the word's already gone out and it's already reached. So that means that the famine's going to come in. Well, we know that 2/3 is 66%. 66%, which no man can number, are going to die like Esau, pretty much. When the 1/3 of mankind, all mankind, is destroyed by this coming nuclear war. The first death was by water, by flood, and this second death is going to be by fire. Fire mingled with blood. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed in that day. And we can see it coming up. As they're getting ready to impeach Trump, it looks like they probably are going to follow through with it. But we know that politics is nothing but a dog and pony show anyways. They already set this up long ago, And it's just fun to watch the show because, hey, we got a Walls of Jericho effect going on. All our enemies are gathering. The Most High himself is gathering all our enemies to fight in the valley of Yahawashi. And a good majority of those enemies, surprisingly, is our own people. Or in all the military ranks. Fighting on all sides. That's why nations were never totally wiped out, because of the fact that you had our people mixed among those nations. So you can see how the world has been blessed, because you have Israelite foreigners in every nation, because we're scattered sheep. And our seed has spread through many. And that's why you got so many coming out looking like me, or looking like looking Asian, looking Elamite, looking Ishmaelite. And yes, our seed has even spread through Amalek. It is my belief that, as in the music industry, that, it's my belief that Paul Simon is really a Jake. And definitely I can say that Steven Seagal acts more like a Jake, even though his, family is Amalek. But you see, our seed got mixed up with Amalek. I mean, just look at Sicily alone. Look at the Sicilians. And isn't that where the mafia started? Think about it, Our seed is spread everywhere. So, nonetheless, though, that means that this word has gone out, and we're proclaiming our heritage, and that's why Esau's trying to use the media witchcraft against us. Because we've already wounded him, and like I said, he's a wounded animal, looking to strike. You know, that's why, you know, all we do is prophesy against him. But we definitely, you know, got to keep our Clark Kent, but our Clark Kent backs Superman at the same time. And just knowing where those balances are. You know, of course we're not going to deny yahawashi. You know, and we're not going to deny our faith. We are the real Israelites, and there's nothing that can stop us from proclaiming who we are. So it's here, it's happening, and, well, a lot of us, you know, are going to have to be martyrs. I mean, that's just the way that it is. But nonetheless, though, we've been tried. We are ready. So we'll just say, keep it coming. And take a look at some other clips, and then, of course, read some scriptures.
The U.S. and China have apparently struck a deal, at least on paper so far, signaling a step toward ending the nearly year-and-a-half-long trade war. This preliminary deal will see the rollback of tariffs on Chinese goods in phases, according to Chinese Vice Minister of Commerce Wang Shouwen. But just moments ago, President Trump spoke about all this from the White House.
To me, it's not complicated, but that's what I do. It's a phenomenal deal. This is a very large deal, the China deal. It covers tremendous manufacturing, farming, and I say affectionately, the farmers are going to have to go out and buy much larger tractors because it means a lot of business, a tremendous amount of business.
Now, he tweeted about this last night, so that drove Asian markets to see an uptick early this morning. So the Chinese are finally speaking up about this, and all seems to be good. So joining us to break it all down, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, first, the Chinese held a presser about this.
They did.
As if it's totally all good. We're en route to ending everything.
Yep.
But then President Trump denied signing off on the deal as of yet, which sent markets tumbling again. So it was up, then it was down.
Right.
What's with the mixed signals?
So the problem is the markets have no idea how to react to any of this, because even though you just played this soundbite from President Trump, right, and he's giving a lot of information about this is a great deal, it's great for farmers, it's great for agriculture, it's great for intellectual property, we're going to, fix some of these tariff issues. So it all sounds good. The problem is, Manila, there's no details to any of it.
Yeah.
No side is giving details. So listen, we've been in this stage of U.S.-China trade talks for months. Everybody knows what's on the table. For those of us who follow it, right, over our boom bust, we're talking about this every single day. And there's very clear details about what was expected to come out of this deal. You would expect this morning, if you came to this deal, the president doesn't come out with some generic statement about it's a great deal, best deal ever. He comes out and says, here's specifically what you're going to get. But that hasn't happened. So the markets are very unclear at this point about what the deal actually includes and what was agreed to. What we do know, $160 billion in tariffs will not go into effect on Sunday as had been scheduled. That's good for the markets, and that will not take place. We also know that some kind of agreement was made on agriculture, but we don't know what the agreement was. The administration had been indicating they're asking China to basically purchase $50 billion worth of agricultural goods from the United States in 2020. That would be twice the number that was purchased in 2017 before the trade talks started. That would be a huge win. But those details have not been given. We're just going off assumptions of things that have been said.
Right. Everyone just giving platitudes of everything's great, it's on track.
We're there.
We're right there.
But where are we?
We're right there. Where is this?
Yeah.
Now, I've heard some people rumbling saying that President Trump is deliberately giving the mixed signals because he wants to control the narrative and not let the Chinese run away with the presser.
Well, that might be true. Here's what I believe. I believe that it is not coincidental that this announcement came this morning, right? Which obviously there's a deadline because of Sunday and what's going on with that. But on the same morning that these impeachment announcements come out from the House Judiciary Committee, and the vote yes to go ahead and move forward on impeachment comes out, the same morning that happens, the Trump administration says, we've got a deal. And here's why it's important. Because if you come off this president saying, while impeachment's happening, we're getting stuff done, it looks good for him. If you say, we have a deal that's great for farmers, and it's great for manufacturers, and it's great for consumers, all that sounds good. It's a way, I believe, of the Trump administration taking back some of that news cycle narrative. Because of the fact that there are not very clear details, it makes you question what exactly have they agreed to? I'm not sure we know.
Now, whatever this partial deal might be, do you think he's actually going to sign it before we head into 2020?
Yeah, I believe that it will be agreed to, but remember, it's going to take 5 to 6 weeks for anything to actually come to fruition. Here's the other important point. So the Trump administration has been talking about this for a long time, and the drop-dead date of December 15th for those new tariffs to kick in is very significant. And the reason for that is because if those tariffs kicked in, $160 billion, for the first time in this entire trade war, U.S. consumers would feel it. U.S. consumers would feel the pain of those tariffs. And if that happens, that's not just bad optics, it's a bad reality for Trump going into his 2020 re-election campaign. He does not need American consumers to say, we are worse off now than we were when you started this trade war. And I don't think he wants that. So at all costs, the president had to find a way to say, we're going to stop these tariffs from kicking in on the 15th without losing face. So I think that's why they've got a deal that's maybe not completely hammered out yet.
Right, so there's something. So in spite of, as you just mentioned, the impeachment hearings happening over there on the other side of town, Trump's over here talking about China, we've achieved something, but we also know on the other side of town that you and I just talked about this, that they brokered the new NAFTA, the USMCA. How much do you think the negotiations on that deal affected this deal with the Chinese?
I don't think it did affect this deal with the Chinese.
It leverages his hand?
No, I think the USMCA, and we've talked about this, is barely a better deal than NAFTA. It was not significantly better. I think if there's any correlation between the two, it's this reality, that for all the talk of trade deals, of all the talk of the president getting us a better deal, NAFTA and the USMCA is not really a better deal. It's slightly better, but it's not much better, and it's certainly not going to be anything that American consumers or workers really feel. China, again, same type of thing. Unless, and I could be wrong here, the president did negotiate $50 billion in agricultural products bought by China in 2020. If that is really in this deal, that's a big win. The fact that they have not come out and given the number makes me think that they have not accomplished that, and maybe it's 40 billion or maybe it's 30 billion and maybe it's not quite the 50 billion he keeps saying.
Now, as we know, Ben, the devil is in those details.
Always.
All right, I'm sure you'll be talking more about this later today on Boom Bust at 4 o'clock, guys. So you can see Ben again at 4 o'clock today.
We'll have more for you then.
Ben Swan, thank you so much.
Praises, glory, and honor to yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham, quadash, double honors to our elders and apostles of great millstone that taught us His truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful like Akim, pushing His truth with all righteousness and sincerity. This is yahawah. Today's lesson is entitled, Daniel was accused, but the Lord delivered him. All right. Daniel, which was an Israelite, during the time of the Babylonian captivity. And we're going to read Daniel, the 6th chapter. Probably not all of it, just hit the points, and just receive the message that is written in this history of ours. All right. And just like now, you see, we are back in the public's eye, and we're being demonized, and chiefly we're being demonized because we speak in the truth, all right? And truth is contrary to the spirit of this world. Now, before we hit Daniel 6, let me grab this in Amos 5, and I'm going to go into these precepts, and Lord willing, you be edified through the spirit and power of yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi. Now, to you Akim that have been tuning in, our main page, Gabarium of the Most High, after today, we should be able to upload on it. So we'll be back on that channel, Lord willing. But this is Amos chapter 5, verse 10. It says, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate. They abhor him that speaketh uprightly. All right, abhor meaning avoid. So they're going to hate us for us rebuking in the gate. All right. And we rebuking against the spirit of this world. We sending rebukes. We shaking our hands against this high mountain. And as it says in that chapter that I'm quoting, which is Isaiah 13, it further says how we shall go into the gates of the nobles, man. And we've been plastered all over the media, and being demonized for standing up for truth. When the Lord asked, who shall stand up for him against the evildoers? All right, and Psalm 94. Let me see. This is Psalm 94, verse 16. Who will rise up for me against the evildoers, and who shall stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? Evildoers and the workers of iniquity is Esau, Edom, as well as 2/3 of Israel and these heathens, man. You know, we're rising up against the workers of iniquity and against the evildoers by preaching truth. You know, when you read in Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, it says, the righteous man shall stand in great boldness, which that righteous man is a man of the Lord, all right, a prophet. All right, the Lord has put the Spirit in us to go out and preach this truth, man. You know, this is Wisdom of Solomon 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness. We just read in Psalm 94:16, who shall rise up for me against the evildoers. All right, that's a righteous man that's going to stand in great boldness. Boldness meaning faith, confidence, you know, before the face of such have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. Those that we're standing in the face of that have afflicted us is these evildoers, man, and these workers of iniquity. But I want to pull something in this chapter in Amos 5 and 10. Lord willing, you following me. It's Amos 5 and 10. They hate him that rebuketh in the gate. They abhor him that speaketh uprightly. When you go into this word rebuketh, it goes back to the Hebrew word yahawah, which is to prove, decide, judge. You know, the whole spirit of this world is only God can judge me, which that is not scriptural. All right, that is a proverb from Tupac in one of his songs. Rebuke, reprove, correct. These people don't want to be corrected. Why? Because men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. All right, this is John chapter 3, verse 19. It says, and this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, man, which is its truth, which really is yahawashi. All right, when you read in this same book, but the first chapter speaks about how our Lord yahawashi was a light and light unto men. You know, and when you read in Hebrews 10 and 7, it speaks about how the Lord come in the volume of the book. So this wisdom is being exalted here in the world. But as it says here, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. Their deeds is their works, their actions, all right, their characteristics, their persons, you know. Let's look up this word darkness. And we're going to go back to Daniel 6. I'm just flowing in the spirit. Darkness goes back to the Greek.
Strong's G 4655. Skatos.
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 Says darkness of night, darkness. All right, metaphorically of ignorance. Ignorance meaning to not know. People love not knowing. They have a term in the world called ignorance is bliss. Bliss meaning happiness, man. All right, and that's true. Because when you go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, just bear with me. I don't know why the internet's slowing up like that. But this Ecclesiastes 1 and 18, for in much wisdom is much grief. Grief is sorrow, depression. Why? Because now your eyes is open to the wickedness and the evils that's going on around you. You're opened up to righteousness. So you're going to experience grief, and that's balance. It says, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. So the opposite of that, which the Lord deals with balance, pursuant to Proverbs 11 and 1, is ignorance will be bliss. Ignorance will be happiness, man. You know? So when we come in and we rebuking it in the name of yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, and we shine that light in that darkness, which the darkness is ignorance, people is going to hate you, man. Going back to what we read in Amos 5 and 10. But continuing on in John 3 and 19, and we're going into the word darkness, which is metaphorically of ignorance, respecting divine things and human duties, and a company of ungodliness and immorality, together with their consequent misery in hell. Hell is a low condition. Persons in whom darkness become visible and holds away. So ignorance is darkness, man. So as we exalt in the voice and we rebuking this place, it's only right for the workers of iniquity to come against Jacob, man, which is Esau. All right, this is Psalm 37 and 14. It says, the wicked have drawn out the sword. And when you read in Psalm 64, it speaks about how the wicked whet their tongue like a sword. And, you know, let me just get it real quick. We try to quote them, but sometimes, we forget them, man. This is Psalm 64 and 8. It says, is it 64 and 8? Yeah, no, 64 and 3. I started at 2. Psalm 64 and 2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. All right, the wicked is Esau, Edom, Malachi, the first chapter. The secret counsel is going into the Illuminati, the hidden ones, the shadow government that's ruling the earth. All right, the elite bankers. It says from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Now, these people is the ones that we're going to be standing up against, going back to what we read in Psalm 94. It says who whet their tongue like a sword. This word whet meaning to sharpen. So Esau is perfecting his wordplay with these different false accusations that he is pinning against the righteous. It says, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. So back in Psalm 37 and 14, the wicked have drawn out the sword. That's talking about the actual sword, which is the modern day weapon, ultimately the ICBM missiles, but also Esau's wordplay. All right, because Esau is slandering his own brother. This is Psalm 50 and 19. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, thy tongue frameth deceit. And that's the spirit of Esau. He's a liar, he's a demon, he's Satan, and through his laws, his statutes, and his commandments of the world, all right, his mouth is given to much evil, man. He give lesbians, homosexuals, and bisexuals rights above the Israelites. All right, he okays GMO food. He sets the women over the men, and then he takes our heritage and uses it against us, man. Forming anti-Semitism laws, and the list goes on, man. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, thy tongue frameth deceit. Here's the point. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thy slanderest thy own mother's son. The mother is Rebekah. All right, going back to Genesis 25. And this word slander, when you look up the word devil, this is one of the synonyms. So Esau is a devil, a slanderer, a deceiver. All right, but it's all a part of the movie. So now let's dig here in Daniel 6. This is Daniel 6 and 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom in 127 princes. It's like 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. Now this is, when the Medo Persians came into power. When you read the previous chapter, you had Darius the Mede that ousted the rulership of Nebuchadnezzar, then later his son Belshazzar, when his lords was drinking out of our golden vessels and partying and living it up. All right. Verse 2, and over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the prince might give account unto them, and the king should have no damage. So as we read, Daniel was set up in a higher position, man. Daniel knew how to break down dreams, all right, and things of that sort. Matter of fact, you know what? I actually meant to go back to Psalm 37. Let me get this real quick so we can close this out. Psalm 37:14. The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy. The poor and the needy is Israelites. All right, we have to go to our enemies for wants of all things, and for food and for nakedness. We are the tail here and not the head. We are oppressed and we're subject unto payments. All right, when you read the prayer, it speaks about the daily bread, man. So we just getting enough just to get by from day to day. That's being poor, needy. It says to slay such as be of upright conversation. All right, and that's the prophets. The prophets are upright conversation. All right, they speaking about they signed and crying for the abominations that be done in the midst of this wicked and perverse nation. They speaking about righteousness and how the Lord is going to lay down the haughty and the prideful. But back in Daniel, the 6th chapter, the 4th verse. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom. All right. Once again, Daniel's an Israelite for you brothers who don't know. Now, occasion. Let's look this word up. Goes back to the Hebrew word ilah. Matter, affair, pretext, cause. All right. They're trying to find a cause against Daniel, which they're trying to do with us, man. They're trying to find fault in us, man. And since they don't, because we're being righteous, we, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, bahasham, yahawashi, we're being righteous, man, here in this wicked and perverse world. Now Esau is going to get carnal and try to find occasion against us, just as our enemies done in the past, man. Nothing new is not under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9. So then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault. We're not out here being evil and wicked, doing things to get us locked up. All we do is go out and preach the word and go back home and go to work, So they're not finding no fault with us, man. So they set up these actors and go and commit these heinous crimes and then put BHI all over the media, For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his power. So now they're trying to form deceit. You know what I mean? And that's how Esau do, man. He sets up these different laws and these decrees to catch us up, man. It says, because we read in Psalm 94 on how it speaks about who shall stand up for me against the evildoers, and who shall, stand up for me against the workers of iniquity. So the man of the Lord is going to stand up for righteousness. And righteousness is as hate to the wicked. So they're going to try to find fault against us concerning the law of the Most High, Oh, well, they're speaking hate. They're being hateful. God is love. So, we gotta get them off the street, It says, then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said thus unto the king, King Darius, live forever. All right, so as you read, Darius, with his decree, says that no one can pray to their gods. But Daniel was still praying unto the Lord, man. He prayed three times a day, as it says here in the 10th verse. It says, trying to get to the point. I don't want to make this too long. All right, Daniel 6:15. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Now, Slakia, know, O king, that the law of the Medes and the Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. And the king commanded that they brought Daniel and cast him into the lion's den. All right, because Daniel wasn't so-called abiding by the law of the Persians and the Medes, which was for the people to not worship their gods, which that was a false decree that them princes had brought forth to Darius that he may sign, so that all the inhabitants of the kingdom may obey and observe. But Daniel, sticking to the heritage of his nationality, all right, he said, fuck that, man. Just like us, man. We sticking to the heritage of our forefathers, man. Just like Mordecai. When hold on, let me turn this shit down. Just like Mordecai, when hey dad, no, I'm sorry, when Haman, had it to where everybody was supposed to bow down to him, Mordecai was like, fuck that, man, I'm not bowing down to Haman. I'm a Jew. I'm an Israelite. I don't do shit like that. So, same thing with Daniel. Same thing with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. It says, Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy power, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. All right. So he, like the Spirit of the Lord channeled through him and prophesied to Daniel. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting, neither was instruments of music brought before him, and he was asleep. So as we know in the story, Daniel was delivered, man. And let me see if I get to the point. 23. All right. And then the next morning, Darius came to check on Daniel. Verse 22. My power have, this is Daniel speaking. My power have sent his angel and have shut the lion's mouth, that they have no hurt me, for as much as before him innocence was found in me, and also before thee, O king, I have done no hurt. So just like us, man, there's no innocency. There's innocency found in us, man. So the Most High is going to be on our side to deliver us out of the hands of the wicked. It says, then the king, exceeding glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his power. So that's another lesson. You got to believe yahawah is on our side, man. You know what I mean? One of my favorite precepts here in Isaiah 41 and 10 is fear thou not, for I am with thee. See, yahawah was with Daniel. You know, be not dismayed, for I am thy power. I will strengthen thee. I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. So Daniel believed in his power, as it says in Daniel 6 and 23. You know, he knew that the Most High was with him. You know, he knew not to be dismayed, and he knew that the Lord will uphold him with the right hand of his righteousness, man. 24, and the king commanded and brought those men which have accused Daniel. So, just like Esau is accusing us, going back to Hebrew, a call, it says to devour, man. You know, Esau is trying to devour us with his words, man. It says, which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of the lions, them and their children and their wives, and the lions had the mastery on them, and break all their bones in pieces, and over and ever they came at the bottom of the den. So that whole pit, that snare that was attempted to be laid for Daniel, they fell in it. You know what I mean? And that's beautiful. And these type of stories we got to remember as we're entering into these times of persecution, man. You know, we're innocent. We're like Daniel, which Daniel in the Hebrew is Danya Allah, which is judge of the Most High. And we out there judging in righteousness, man. You know, the prophecy speaks about how the Lord will set up thy judges as at the first. I believe that's Isaiah, the 1st chapter. Well, we're going to end off here, man. All right, this is Psalm 37:19. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time. Daniel was not ashamed. He was delivered. And in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. And that's what's going to be coming here soon. Famine of bread and water. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Yahawah shall be as fat of lambs. Now, when you go into the law, the fat of lambs, the inward parts, different intestines and stuff, you're supposed to burn that up. You don't eat that. They shall consume, and to smoke shall they consume away. So the Lord is going to destroy the wicked, which is Esau, Edom, with ICBM missiles. All right, the second death of the fire. All right, so this is just something quick, man. I was thinking about. I was actually watching a brother video, and he mentioned Daniel, and you know, I was like, you know what? Let me do a video on how Daniel was accused. You know what I mean? Like we read in 24th chapter, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel. You know, how Daniel was accused and he was delivered, you know, because he believed in his power, you know. And then those men who tried to lay a snare for Daniel ended up falling in that same pit. And those lions had the mastery on them. All right. And not only them, their children and their wives. So, hey, man, the Lord is dealing with us, man. The power of Jacob is our refuge. So, Lord, willing you edify through the Spirit and power, Yahweh, Shem Yahawashi, double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom.
This is Dabu7. This is a heads up here for anyone that's in Louisiana or around the New Orleans area. This is what they're saying right now. A massive cyber attack has targeted the city. They're stating right here on some of the breaking news that the New Orleans government targeted by cyber attack. City employees are advised to shut off all their devices this afternoon. So on this Friday the 13th, New Orleans having their computer systems attacked, and they're saying the ones owned by the city of New Orleans were targeted by these individuals. So they're saying city personnel, including police, firefighters, and others that are connected to the system, need to power off all computers and shut down cell phones. Now, dispatch had announced this over radio channels. The extent or type of the attack was not immediately known, but it is shutting them down in New Orleans. Anytime you have an event that causes the city to fold up and shut down, and they're having to lock up their computers and phones, it's a big deal. We've seen several of these here this past year where they were ransoming for Bitcoin. I'm not sure if this is related, but I will update as I get more info. Make sure to join us for Underground World News Live, 9 p.m. Eastern, Dabu77. I'll update there. Follow me on Twitter as well for breaking news, and DLive for exclusive live streams. Links below, y'all. Much love.
We got our first look at both shooters today. Law enforcement officials saying he belonged to a fringe religious group and posted anti-cop, anti-Jewish rants online. She apparently followed him from a once relatively normal life in Elizabeth, New Jersey, into that murderous rampage. That according to our sources. Chief Investigative Reporter Jonathan Dean's joining us now with the very latest here again in this investigation. John?
Yeah, he was 47, former military, believed to have followed a group known for anti-Semitism. She was 50 years old. Neighbors say a one-time health aide, and we still don't know why they chose that specific store to kill those innocent people. Why did she do it? Law enforcement officials say Francine Graham had no known criminal record, and so far no hateful rants have been found on her social media. But him, yes. David Anderson had some past crimes, including a gun possession arrest. And law enforcement officials say he was also a member of the Black Hebrew Israelites, a small group considered anti-Semitic. You sometimes see them on streets yelling they are the only real Jews. The Southern Poverty Law Center calls them black nationalist hate groups. In the van after the shootout, investigators say Anderson left a note that basically said, "I do this because my creator makes me do this, and I hate who he hates." Also in the van, other guns, and the FBI confirmed the explosive device was real.
It was a viable device, meaning it could be a device that would have exploded.
Online, our sources point us to web postings where it's believed Anderson wrote, "Blacks are Jews, and the Jewish are imposters." Online, our sources point us to web postings where it's believed Anderson wrote, "Blacks are Jews, and the Jewish are imposters."
From our standpoint, there is no question that this is a hate crime, and anti-Semitism should be called out aggressively and firmly, immediately for what it is. And anything other than that is a disservice to anti-Semitism. I'm Jewish. I'm the grandson of Holocaust survivors who immigrated to this country because it's a place of tolerance. And like I said, we need to be aggressive in calling it out for what it is. We're not at liberty to disclose the names of any of the victims or the actors at this point. We're not at liberty to disclose the names of any of the victims or the actors at this point. We're not at liberty to disclose the names of any of the victims or the actors at this point. And like I said, we need to be aggressive in calling it out for what it is.
All right, Shalom. Before I get started, I want to say Call Halayim La Yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham, quadash. Double honors to my elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Double salutation to all you Akim out there laboring. The house of David that's pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers. All right, so I'm back at you with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, okay? And this is the accuser of our brethren, man. All right? Yahawah yahawashi is revealing everything in these last days, man. Okay? And you see that everything that Esau is trying to set up, all right, with his fake news stories, all right, all his agendas are backfiring in his face, man. Okay? And nobody's believing on Esau's lies anymore, man. Okay? Like I said before, this devil has nothing left against us, man. Okay? He has hired paid actors and set up fake news stories to demonize us, man. You see? And to paint that picture to the world that we're terrorists, man. Okay, so this is just more proof, all right, that the Edomite, okay, the so-called white man, is totally finished, man. All right, let me get straight to the scriptures here. All right, because this is the characteristics of the deceiver, man. All right, this is Psalms chapter 10 and verse 7, and it reads, "His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity," man. You see that? So this scripture breaks down itself, man. Okay, this is the MO of the so-called white man, man. All right, he comes in the spirit of Cain, man. All right, he's a hater. Verse 8, "He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places do he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor," man. All right, and that's what this devil does, man. All right, he sits off in the cut. All right, he comes up with these different plans, just like for example, the Rex 84, King Alfred plan, Agenda 21, Project Megiddo, so on and so forth, man. All right, his eyes are privily set against the poor because this devil is getting ready to come down upon Jacob, man. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Hispanics, man. All right. Psalms 10 and 9, it says, "He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den." You see? He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doeth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net, man. You see that? And this is how Esau is trying to trap up Jake, man. This is how Esau is trying to destroy our cause, man. All right? But you see the spirit of yahawashi is exposing all of his lies, man. Okay? This nigga got actors, man. Just showing you, man, hey, Esau's tacky, man. All right? Luke 6 and 22, just rolling in the spirit. Luke chapter 6, verse 22. And it reads, it says, "Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake," man. All right? And that's the time we in, the time of persecution of the saints, man. The time of martial law, man. All right? The time of a famine of the word, man. All right? So a prophecy is being fulfilled right now, man. Verse 23, Luke 6 and 23 says, "Rejoice ye in that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in like manner did their fathers unto the prophets," man. All right, so these are the same things that they did to our forefathers, man. Okay, this is the same thing that they did to our prophets, man. All right, to the disciples, man. Okay, so hey, man, the scripture says there's nothing new under the sun, man. All right, but the Lord said your reward is great in heaven, man. Okay. Because we understand that there's a reward behind this, man. All right, and that persecution must come. All right, for us, in order for us to enter into the kingdom, man. All right, let me pull that out real quick. All right, this is Acts 14 and 22. Pull that real quick. It's rolling in the spirit. All right, Acts chapter 14, verse 22. It says, "Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith," man. Like the brother Pashad put up a video, don't let your faith get rocked because of these false accusations, man. We're exhorting you to continue in the faith, man. All right, continue to believe in yahawashi, man. All right, because like I said, this devil, he's going to do anything, all right, to injure our cause, man. All right, to get us out the way. All right, Acts 14:22, "Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of yahawashi, man." All right, so tribulation is going to come, man. Persecution is going to come. All right, but we can't deny yahawashi, man. All right, let me get that too. This is Luke. This is the book of Luke, chapter 9, verse 26. All right, because it's all about standing firm for this gospel, man. All right, this is Luke chapter 9, verse 26, and it reads, it says, "For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels," man. You see? So in the midst of this persecution and slander, all right, we got to continue to, stand firm for yahawashi, man. All right? But the point, man, is that, like I said earlier, that the so-called white man, Esau, is the accuser of our brethren, man. This is Revelation chapter 12, verse 10, and it reads, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, in the kingdom of our power, and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night," man. You see? So I'm just bringing this out again for edification's sake, man. All right? Because this is relevant, man. Okay? This is the definition of the word accuser. All right? Because Esau is the accuser. All right? This is from the Easton's Bible Dictionary. All right, it says accuser. It says Satan is styled the, quote, accuser of the brethren. All right, it says is seeking to uphold his influence among men by bringing false charges against Christians, man. You see? And the Christians are the Israelites, man. You see? But it says is seeking to uphold his influence among men by bringing false charges against Israelites, man. Okay, and he's doing that. You see? This is prophecy, man. All right? It says as seeking to uphold his influence among men by bringing false charges against Israelites with the view of weakening their influence and injuring the cause with which they are identified, man. All right? And this is how Esau is trying to injure our cause, man. All right? This is how he's trying to get us off the internet, man. Get us off the streets, man. All right? Demonize us, man. Okay? It says he was regarded by the Jews as the accuser of men before God, laying to their charge the violations of the law of which they were guilty and demanding their punishment, man. All right? And this is exactly what he's doing now, man. All right? He's trying to set up these false accusations, all right, so that he could punish us, man. That he could come down upon us, man. You see? Let's grab this. All right, this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 1, and it reads, it says, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Hamashiach yahawashi, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that day of Hamashiach is at hand, man. All right? So there's no point of being troubled, man, or being shaken, man, because these are the things that were supposed to come, man. All right? Like I said, that's why we have to continue to maintain our faith, man. You know? Verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, man. What you just saw at the beginning of this video, man. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, man. All right, which is the point. And that man of sin is being revealed, man. The son of perdition, which is Esau, man, the so-called white man, man. All right, which that word perdition means doom and destruction. Okay, so this is why all of these things are happening, man. All right, but I just wanted to bring that out real quick, man. Like I said, Esau ain't got nothing left. All right, he's being totally exposed, man. Call halayim la yahawah bahasham yahawashi, man. All right, I pray this lesson was edifying. Double honors to my elders and apostles, a great millstone who taught me this truth, and double salutation to all you akim out there laboring. Shalom.
Reporting that these two suspects are linked to the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. We have evidence that both suspects expressed interest in this group, but we have not definitively established any formal links to that organization or to any other group. There has been considerable reporting that these two suspects are linked to the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. We have evidence that both suspects expressed interest in this group, but we have not definitively established any formal links to that organization or to any other group.
FBI ran a counterintelligence program named COINTELPRO that was initiated by J. Edgar Hoover. COINTELPRO mainly targeted civil rights leaders such as Martin Luther King, and it's commonly understood that this was an abuse of its surveillance power in a manner to suppress a peaceful movement. So I would like to ask Mr. Chair unanimous consent to enter this report into the record, which is Black identity extremists likely motivated to target law enforcement officers. I believe earlier you said you were not familiar with the report. Is that correct?
Well, I haven't read it. I know some of the alleged targeting of officers by
okay, so I would like to know, and I'll ask you about that in a minute. So you are somewhat familiar with it. Who had the power in your department to order a report like this?
I'm not sure how that report got ordered. I don't believe I explicitly approved it or directed it.
Okay, so you haven't necessarily read the report, but you are familiar with the term Black identity extremists?
Well, I think so, yes.
So can you tell me what that term means to you? Do you believe that there is a movement of African Americans that identify themselves as Black identity extremists, and what does that movement do?
Well, it'd be interesting to see the conclusions of that report. But I'm aware that there are groups that do have an extraordinary commitment to their racial identity, and some have transformed themselves even into violent activists.
Are you aware of white organizations that do this as well? Given that white supremacy is well-documented, well-researched movements such as the neo-Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, etc., are they white identity extremists?
I didn't follow that question, please, again.
Is there a term or a report on white identity extremists? You mentioned you were familiar with black people who identify with their racial identity.
Yes, but it's not coming to me at this moment.
Not coming to you?
It's
certainly a group such as the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes, and then the skinhead movements, but there's a racial identity white movements that have been identified for sure.
So has the FBI done a report on white identity extremists that are likely motivated to target law enforcement officers? Is there such
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Are you aware of a group called the Sovereign Citizens?
I've heard that group, yes.
And I believe that the Sovereign Citizens is primarily a white organization that absolutely has targeted police officers and killed police officers. You're not aware of that?
I'm not aware of all their crimes, but I know they're a group that's known to have violent tendencies.
Could you name an African-American organization that have committed violent acts against police officers? Could you name one today? In this report, they name organizations from 30, 40 years ago, but can you name of one today that has targeted police officers in a violent manner?
I believe I could, but I would want to be to confirm that and submit it to you in writing. But I believe we had, within the last year or so, 4 police officers killed by a group that some have described as extremists.
So what has happened is that there have been a couple of instances in which African Americans did kill police officers who were not associated with a black organization. And so one, for example, in Baton Rouge was associated with Sovereign Citizens, which is primarily a white group. So you should know that there's a lot of concern in the community, especially from organizations such as Black Lives Matter. By the way, would you consider Black Lives Matter a black identity extremist group?
I'm not able to comment on that. I have not so declared it.
So you should know that a lot of activists around the country are very concerned that we're getting ready to repeat a very sad chapter of our history, where people who are rightfully protesting what they consider to be an injustice in their community, which is their relationship with police officers, are now being targeted and labeled as extremists and are going through periods of surveillance and harassment. And so I would like to know, what is your department going to do to protect the rights of average citizens to protest if they have a concern about police officers?
This department will not unlawfully target people.
So if that's the case, then I would ask that you review this report, Black Identity Extremists Likely Motivated to Target Law Enforcement Officers, because I personally don't believe that any such organizations exist.
Which leads me here, these kind of scriptures here is what's really hurting Esau, because he knows that it's true. Isaiah chapter 63, and starting verse 1, who is it that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Basra is another key word for America. That this glorious in his gospel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. And, that's what he's done. He's convinced the whole world that he's the Christians, that he's the Jews, and that, everything's in his favor. It kind of reminds me of that old Hill song, United song, Mighty Save, right? They have that whole thing. But you and I both know how the Most High feels about Esau. Verse 2, wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like them that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. A huge slaughter is coming to Esau, Edom, and they know that, and that's why they're making their moves now. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And that's what's happened. Redemption's everywhere, you know. We're repenting so we can come into redemption, you know, and so we're being redeemed from the earth, you know, because we've come out from the earth. We're no longer partaking in these wicked celebrations, no longer celebrating Christmas and Halloween and all those things, no longer following Esau's philosophies. And I looked, there was none to help, and I was wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. And I will tread down the people in mine anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. And that's what's going to happen when they try to get their air force to fight against the yahawashi and the angels. I will mention the loving kindness of the Lord Yahawah, and the praises of the Lord Yahawah, according to all that the Lord Yahawah bahasham yahawashi hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Yashalallah, which he hath bestowed on them, according to his mercies, and according to the multitude of his loving kindness. And that's only for Israelites, you know, for the elect of the nation of Yashalallah. So I hope all this has been edifying. Like everything else, though, this word is getting to Esau, and that's why he made his move like he did. You know, we expect to see more. You know, it's just like, go ahead, devil, come at us with everything, because you got nothing to begin with. For that, I want to say shalom. Barak the yahawah, bahasham yahawashi, bahasham quadash, wa above the ball. Barak atham, the hopeful elect.